mind. I'm speaking to that I am that I am. And what is this I amness? Consciousness. Awareness.
Resonating to itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could I share something, Terry?
Yeah.
To do with Patty's question. As I come to see what I'm not, as I see that thoughts, and it's quite a thing to see actually, do just arise. Bang,
Yeah.
bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
And the body, to some degree, that's a bit more difficult to see, but thoughts, what's happening is that something, it gives way for something to establish itself. I would call it presence, an aware presence.
Yeah.
And when that is here, if you know what I mean, that's when the mind is quiet.
Yeah.
When, in your terms, when the consciousness goes back to the mind, that's when presence seems to recede,
Yeah.
and the mind gets active again.
Yeah.
That's what seems to be happening here. And I wake up in the morning and I think to myself, where are the scales today then? And I get up when the mind's busy, or the sense of presence.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it's going to be like from day to day.
No. You know, all I would say to that, and this is going to sound ridiculous. All I would say to that is abide as presence. And clearly I'm not speaking to the me. Yeah. Yeah. Notice that. Really notice that. The idea is to dive into that. What is that? Yeah, it's kind of being, yeah. But like, you know, when we get to a point, and I know you have, Malcolm, you know, when you get to the point where you kind of, you know, when you first kind of stumble on this, yeah, kind of like, oh, what is this me?
Mm.
You become really curious about what is this me? Like, what is it? Where is it?
Mm.
Same thing applies to your direct experience of presence, awareness, consciousness. So the interest, if you like, shifts from mind to this.
Mm.
And then you dive in there. Yeah. And the reason I said this is going to sound ridiculous is because it sounds like I'm trying to tell me to dive in there, and I'm not. Yeah. But it is your direct experience. Presence, consciousness, direct experience. And we don't notice it. Just like we don't notice space. We don't notice it. And every now and then, and I know it's happening less and less, far less for you, Malcolm, I know that, yeah. But every now and then, that consciousness or awareness, yeah, we'll flip over and just have a gander at the mind. Yeah, just have a little look. Yeah. Now, if that attention gets fixated on the mind, then that will become your world.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then there's and when that becomes your world, there's a forgetting of what you actually are here. Yeah. And it's consciousness doing it.
And that's when life's not okay.
That's right. That's right. That's right. seemingly not okay.
Yeah.
All that's happened is consciousness shift, and it's looking at what's going on in there. That's all. That's all. And what's going on in there? Oh, just thoughts. Just chatter. But we've taken it real for our whole life. So it can be, it can take a moment to de-shackle from it.
I had a shift in understanding after seeing one of your posts on Facebook.
Yeah.
Which was, or a shift in realization, which was that there's only one experience that is happening, and consciousness is, there's only one experience, which is consciousness, which is what's keeping me alive or divine or whatever. And my mind is labeling that experience in many different ways. But there's only really one experience.
Yeah.
It's not a myriad of experiences.
Yeah.
And so when I still the mind, then I can feel that experience.
Yeah.
And so the thing that's been happening to me lately is that I've been sort of disassociating from labeling, and I've been shifting into different worlds, like not just lucid dreaming when I'm sleeping, but actually even when I'm awake, I've been, to the point where I think I might be technically going crazy or something, but like I just tend to move into a different world and shift back out. And I view that as a positive, I guess, in the sense that I'm not labeling that experience, or I'm sort of fragmenting my labeling of it. But I found that to be a really helpful way of realizing, I guess, that it's just one experience, and the mind is just putting labels on it.
Yeah. And perhaps another good way of looking at that is, if we come back to just seeing, are the eyes labeling stuff? The eyes, like my eyes don't say, hey, Terry, have a look at this. There's no labeling. There is literally just seeing. Then the mind steps in and labels. And then what we see is the label. We're not truly seeing. Same, when we think we're in a relationship with somebody. We all think we've had relationships. We all think we've had relationships. We haven't. Sorry to say, we haven't. It was a shock when I saw it. A pleasant one, but it was a shock. Yeah. When I saw, and that's just because I saw how the mind works. Every single solitary relationship that I thought or believed I'd had with somebody, the relationship that I had was with what I thought of them. It's never in a relationship with anybody, no matter how much I love them.
The other thing that I'm seeing is that this one experience that is permeating through is not just a cognitive experience, but it's also true love, and so which is integrated with their experience. And so I think the emotions that I feel, meaning that we feel, is again the mind taking that true love and sort of labeling it and distorting it. So if you have a good relationship with someone that's taking true love and making it in a positive way, or if I hate someone, then it's a negative. But it's all just that one true love and one experience going through.
Yeah, it is. It's only the mind that divides.
Right.
All that is ever being experienced is love. This. You'll laugh when you see this, yeah. This experience that we cherish, yeah. This feeling of love, yeah. Especially when you first meet somebody, right, and you fall in love, yeah. Oh, this feeling of, oh. That sensation that is experienced in the body is the exact same sensation when you're fearful. It's the exact same sensation. Oh, that's going to spin you out a bit. I know. It's the same sensation.
It's just the intensity, you mean, or the.
Not even
it's
it's
a different label, of course.
Yeah, but try not to even do that. Don't give it different intensities, or it's not different.
Are you
No, I mean,
saying,
it's the same intensity. I mean, it's the same intensity, but.
Oh, intensity, did you say? Yeah.
but are you saying it's the mind that interprets it one way or the other?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes. And
So Terry,
that then creates the world, doesn't it? Donna.
so you're saying like what you experience is that all the time?
Yeah.
Is that how you experience it all the time? Just that whole sense? Because that's what I get when I see you. Sometimes you're like, oh my God, this is so wonderful. You know, this is this overwhelming sense of love.
Yeah. That's all there is.
And we're all trying to stop it because we think it's something else.
Yes. Like when we have an experience of fear, that sensation, yeah, we want it to go.
Yeah.
I don't want to experience this.
We're trying to push it away.
Yeah, don't do that. Love it. Like, embrace it. Don't stop running away from these sensations. It's like a 3-year-old going, I don't want to feel this. But it's there. What do you mean you don't want to feel it? It's there. Where are you going to run to? Yeah. Just how fascinating the mind is and how it creates a world, your world. Labels. Pure imagination. Pure, absolute imagination. I mean, look at what I said a moment ago. Check for yourself. Really, really honestly, check for yourself. Have you actually ever been in a relationship with anybody? Really, you know? Really?
No, because you can't see who they are.
Check that, Patty.
I am.
Yeah, like ponder it. Even after we finish today, look at that one.
We can't even see who we are ourselves, let alone anyone else.
That's right. That's right.
That's a spin out.
And then you'll have a look at that, yeah? And you'll see that the seeming relationship only occurs in the mind. Of course it does. The mind is dualistic. That's how it operates. Of course that's where it occurs. All of us throughout our whole life have had the experience where somebody has completely misinterpreted myself. And you know it. Somebody was saying blah, 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 blah about you. Yeah. And you know what they're saying is in their head. They're imagining it. You know it. And then look at the dynamic that gets set up between the two people, because one of them is believing what's going on in their own head. And you know they're not seeing you. You know they're not in a relationship with you. You know it. You know they're imagining stuff. Turn that around and realize also that that's what you've been doing your whole life too. Not that you've been doing it, but that is what has been occurring your whole life. So at best, yeah, all you could say in your seeming relationships with people is your thoughts have been in relationship with their thoughts and bounce off one another and react to one another. And the real you and the real other gets missed, completely missed.
Well, there's the basis for wars too.
Say that again, Patty.
On a larger scale, there's the basis for war.
Yeah, absolutely.
Against, yeah,
Absolutely. It creates the world.
it creates the war.
I mean, in a sense, all sense of time and space is created in the mind.
Yep.
So every relationship, every narrative is created in the mind. Otherwise, it's just, the now, right? It's just everything, as you said, is unfolding.
Yep.
So
Yep.
there is no real relationship as such. It's just what is, right?
Yep.
So.
I say something.
Jacinta, yeah.
I look back, I think something Patty said earlier, that I can look back to things that happened in my life, were bad, but I was in my head. But now, as I come more into me, I can look back and see that I was already there knowing that. I know that sounds weird, but it's like at the time I didn't, but it's like now I can see, it's like it's happening now, but I can sort of see it that I already knew back then. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do. What's happening there is you're starting to recognize, that this beingness that you are now has never changed.
Ah,
Ever.
because it's like things are reflecting and a lot of bad things, in my head. But it's like at times I can see now, it's like, but I already knew that when I was there, but I didn't know that then. So I don't
Understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's because the beingness is starting to open up.
Mm.
Consciousness, awareness, if you want to give it those labels. Even beingness is a label, guys.
Mm.
Yeah?
Mm. Okay, yeah, because it's been happening for a while now. I just felt like I knew that,
Yeah.
but I know that at the time. Mm.
This that you're experiencing right now, this sense of being, is that any different to the beingness you experienced when you were 10?
No.
Doesn't change. Doesn't change. What does change? The narrative,
The labels.
just the mind and the chatter in the mind. That's all.
And yet, I mean, I understand so much, and I shouldn't get on Facebook lately, but you get on, and it's that COVID thing that just sends my head in at the moment because they think they're right. They think they're right. In my mind, so that I know what's happening. And then other things, I'm really sort of moving. But this whole thing, is really, yeah, it's, I actually know, but I get caught up in those walls between people on it. Which I should get off Facebook, I think.
That's what creates the world, Jacinta.
No, and I know, I think Donna said, you know, I understood that. I mean, even you look at Palestine and you look at Israel, it's just their family conditioning that's fucked them up, and they don't see that. I can see that, but you know, from a real, you know, I know it's the mind.
Yeah, and not one single solitary person
Mm.
or not one single solitary country versus another country. Yeah, nobody is responsible. There's no persons there that are responsible for whatever it is that is appearing in mind.
Mm.
And yet it creates a world.
Mm.
It seemingly creates conflict between one country and another country. Not one person. There's not a person there. There's not one person there. You look, you know, Donald Trump. How could he?
I find it amusing. So you've got the people that hate him, and then you've got these other people. He's the God saving the world, and I'm not saying, but it's the whole concept of it all too. And
that's what's creating the world. And there's not one single solitary person there, including Donald Trump, that's responsible for that's being downloaded, or that all those thoughts that are happening. It just happens.
I think I'm finally getting it, because there's no personal me.
Yeah.
And so it can't be
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
I think it's finally dawning.
Yeah.
Well,
Did I talk about light bulbs last week or last time we were on?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
electricity.
I'll just quickly touch on that, Patty. There's probably more light bulbs on the planet than there are people. I'm guessing, but I'm assuming there is, yeah? You got 2-watt bulbs and 10-watt bulbs and 20 and 30 and 50-watt bulbs, 1,000-watt bulbs, yeah? Then you got neon lights, and they're all tubular and different shapes, yeah? Then you got all different colored bulbs, yeah? And every single one of those bulbs believes it's an individual. I'm responsible for how bright I am. I'm responsible for how bright I am. Yeah. And you'll have a 50-watt bulb will say to a 20-watt bulb, oh, you just don't try hard enough. Yeah. You're not trying hard enough. If you try a little bit more or put in a bit more effort or whatever, you too could shine as a 50-watt bulb like me. Yeah. And then all the colored bulbs, and the colored bulbs are saying, oh yeah, but you know, I'm a beautiful blue color and you're a mere yucky yellow mustardy color, and yeah, and I'm responsible for being this beautiful blue color. And so you have to imagine all these light bulbs believing they're individuals and chatting to one another. Yeah? And a world gets created. A light bulb world gets created. So what is it that's actually responsible for all that seeming chatter that goes on between those light bulbs?
The electricity.
Yeah.
Terry?
Yeah. Alex. Yay.
Could we say that this satsang is completely pointless and meaningless?
Yep.
Completely.
Yep. Yet here it is.
Makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. It's just going on.
Yes.
I mean, there's no you there on the other
Yes.
side speaking to me here.
Yes.
It's just
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Here it is.
I mean, because otherwise it would be pointless. I mean, if there was free will plus the understanding, Terry wouldn't bother to do this satsang.
Yeah. And yet this is happening.
Yeah. So, I mean, awakening, non-awakening, on my way to awakening, it's still the dreaming. It's still the dreaming.
Yep.
And it's only awakening and non-awakening is only happening in the mind.
Correct. You got to laugh. Well, you don't got to laugh, but I do. So what I meant by electricity, Patty, yeah, is now I'm feeling like shit, Alex. It doesn't matter what I say, it's rubbish. I love it. Let's try and view, if you can, yeah, that the electricity is source consciousness, if you like, if you want to use that word. Yeah. So how do I go there? This is referred to as one without a second. Without a second. Only one. And you can't really even say one because it implies two. One compared to what? Oh, two or three or four. Or, yeah. So even calling it one is not it. And can you see how limited language and trying to talk about this with language, language is dualistic, yeah? Yeah. So, you know, we come to see, oh yeah, thoughts just kind of come and go. Yeah. What's the intelligence behind those thoughts that are just coming and going? Who the hell's doing that? When you see it's not you. Where are they coming from? And they're there, and then they disappear into where? Into what?
To me, a thought is a simulation of that just happens. It's not real like experience. It's just a simulation of experience.
I just view mind as the sixth sense. It's just the sixth sense. It's like seeing, yeah. Without the eyes, there'd be no seeing. There'd be no experience, if you like, of seeing.
So here's a question I had, which to rise from as you're talking. So you have all these things that are happening spontaneously. There's no people, but yet there's these feelings of good and bad at a certain level. Wars are bad, lots of things are bad. Some things are good. And what I'm thinking at this point is that there's a natural tendency towards going back to source, which is true love. I mean, unconditional love, and a sense of unity with everything. And we inherently sort of sense that as good, even at any level, even at the level of mind, and So, and then we try to do this sort of, impose our will on it or whatever, and try to move towards that source.
Yeah.
But the fact that, I mean, not the fact, but the things that are just happening spontaneously, thoughts coming and, and so on, all of that is just happening. There's no real intelligence. There's no why, I think, at the
Sure.
level of the higher consciousness. So,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's referred to as the causeless cause. Yeah. I'll often refer to it as everything is just bursting into existence right here, right now. No cause, just is. What do you think a mind is going to do with information like that, which works dualistically? It's going to go, what the fuck? What? It is. Yeah. Because it only works dualistically. What do you mean there's no moment ago? What do you mean there's no, cause? What do you mean there's no cause? And that I'm
So that's an
trying
easy
to
one.
share now, that causeless cause, yeah? You are experiencing it right now. Everything is just, but now. Where do you think a second ago goes? Really? Where do you think a second into the future is? Mind creates that. But in your absolute direct experience, what is there?
Yeah.
What does that do with the concept of time?
It's just memory.
Yeah.
But Terry,
Yeah.
Another question.
Yeah.
Without the mind, which we call the sixth sense, can we even say there are another five senses?
No.
The previous five senses are labeled by the mind. If you take
Correct.
the mind away, there aren't five senses.
Correct. Ultimately, there is just experiencing, and that's all.
Even senses are labeled.
Correct.
Yeah.
Even what I just said. Ultimately, there's just experiencing. That's all label.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, it's important to see that it's mind that's creating the world. Fascinating. If you like, yeah. I mean, this isn't totally accurate, but all minds, 8 billion of them, yeah? All these seeming 8 billion separate minds is actually only one mind. All imagined
Yeah.
and created in one mind.
And
You
we
can
believe-
check it with your own mind, yeah. Your own mind will create all sorts of stuff in there about other people. And those other people in your mind are minds.
And we believe that we have five senses to detect an objective world. When in actual fact, I think we're projecting a world through the five senses and the mind, or just the mind.
Yes. That's all we've got.
Because there isn't such thing as a shared objective world that we perceive through our senses. That wouldn't make any sense. I think Ramana was very good at pointing that out.
Yeah.
We are actually projecting the world. There's not a world perceived as such, an objective world, a shared objective world. We're actually projecting the world.
Correct.
This seems to me like a sort of virtual reality, a sort of matrix, computer generation.
Kind of is a bit
You know,
like
it's I've often made that sort of analogy in my mind. It's because it really does look like that. It looks like there's just this sort of projection going on.
Mm. It is.
Who knows?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Maybe we're on a hard drive, on a sort of cosmic, on a cosmic computer.
Quite possible.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
Just my luck.
Star Trek, the second version of Star Trek, had this room they could go into,
Oh yeah.
like a virtual reality room.
Yeah.
And all these stories and people and things happened, and nothing happened.
That's right.
And that's a good way for
Yeah.
me to
Yeah.
think. But it looks very real because those senses can see all this stuff, but there's nothing there except I don't even know what, light maybe.
Our whole world is in the mind.
So I think therefore I am is actually accurate.
Yeah. In terms of me, yeah. Whereas the truth is I am, therefore I think.
Right, I know, but they're both
Yeah. Yeah.
that's fine.
Another thing that helps me a lot just to work through things is when I wake up from a dream in the morning. That dream, and I have millions of different kinds, none of them were real about me.
Yeah.
And when I think about lifetimes, it's the same thing.
It is.
None of them. And that helps me a lot. Sometimes I'll really buy into a dream and it'll leave a feeling and then I'll go, it was a dream.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with your life.
Yeah.
Well, neither do our awake.
The real livingness, if I can put it this way, yeah. The real livingness and the real experience of being alive is always and only right here.
And now.
Now, what happens with that? Mind steps in and creates another story about right here. Oh, I don't feel very good right now. Oh, whatever it's doing. Yeah. I don't know what happened. I woke up this morning and I just felt sad. What's doing and creating and saying that? Mind. Holy shit. Get out of there. Really. Get out of there. Not that you can get out. So what we fail to see, and it's because we see through the veil of the mind, what we fail to see is this. Now, it's always only now. And what's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? That's one of Bob's lines, Sailor Bob. What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? Nothing. Not that you can choose to think about it or not think about it. Yeah, it's still a pointer. What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? What that is indicating is if there is anything wrong with right now, it's only because thoughts are saying so. Thoughts that you have no control over. They're just happening. And what is it that's believing the thoughts? The mind. Where are the thoughts occurring? The mind. Where's the me? The mind. Where's the world? The mind.
So there's really nothing to awaken. There is no person to awaken.
Correct.
You just
You're already awake.
well, I mean, there is no me, so
Yeah.
right,
But your direct experience is you're already awake.
right.
And the only thing that steps in and says otherwise is the mind.
Right.
That's where that terminology comes from. What you're seeking, you already are.
Right.
Yeah. And the only thing that says otherwise is the mind. And the mind produces a seeming me, and then the seeming me is hoping to experience awakening. You're already awake. You're already here. You just need to come to see what you're not. What's actually really taking place, what's really happening. Love it when you smile, Malcolm. It's not rocket science. This is so simple. Honestly, this is so simple. It's not complicated. I often refer to this as a fact-finding mission. There's nothing spiritual about it. What's spiritual? What's that? What has the mind invented about spiritual? Really?
If we use language, Terry,
Yeah.
instead of saying we are awake, and we say we are awakeness, and awakeness is equivalent to consciousness.
Yep.
And consciousness is equivalent to awareness.
Yep.
And there you are.
That's it.
It's the same word. It's just different ways of saying it. We are already awakeness. We are already awareness.
Yep.
Just semantics.
Here-ness. Yeah. It totally is.
Here-ness, awakeness. I mean, you can't awake because you are awakeness already.
Yeah.
And why are you awakeness? Because there's this experience, whatever you want to call it. You can split it into senses, seeing, tasting, touching. That's just more mind.
Yep.
It is what it is. There you are.
Yeah.
It's so easy to recognize. I think it's so in plain sight, and excuse my language, that it's so in plain sight that we just don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's too obvious. That's what makes it difficult. The obviousness.
It's closer than your next breath.
The obviousness of the awakeness.
I think it's obvious in the mind for it to see, but again, it's still, I mean, what I've been feeling for the last few months is that the realization is not in the mind that I'm awake or I'm awakeness, but there's a deeper, I mean, in my case, there's this opening of the heart that I've been feeling for the last several months, where I feel this sort of real, it's not pathos, but it's something else that I just feel this thing going out towards everything. And it's, I've started feeling a stronger connection. I think this realization happens outside the mind, I think. That's what I'm.
Of course it does.
Okay.
It totally happens outside the mind. Mind can't experience anything. Nothing. Nothing. You dream character when you're asleep on your bed at night. What's that dream character in the dream experiencing? Really? What's it experiencing?
I think it's experiencing the same thread of experience that we experience when we are in a wakeful state, but there's just different labels that the mind is putting on.
Yeah. So the reality is there's actually no experience going on in there. Nothing. It's all imagined. All of it.
I mean, I would say there is experience going on there, because if there was no consciousness, I wouldn't be dreaming. So that same
I'm
divine
talking about,
experience.
hang on. I'm talking about the dreamed character in the dream.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah?
Got it. Okay.
No experience.
Well, the dream character in the dream doesn't exist.
Correct.
So,
It's imagined.
right. Yeah.
And you know
But
that when you wake up in the morning. Sorry, Alex. Yeah.
no, I was just going to say, and the dream character is forever longing this new state of consciousness.
Yeah, yeah. So
Which
it's
is not
like,
going to happen.
yeah. So it's like,
A new awakened state, something a new experience.
so imagine your dreamed character in your dream at night when you're sound asleep, your body's lying on the bed, and your dreamed character is going to this satsang and that satsang. It's reading this book. It's sitting with this teacher, and it's meditating. Might even do a little bit of yoga, whatever it's doing, right? And that dream character is doing all of that because it wants to experience what it's like to wake up in the morning. What happens to that dream character when you wake up? It's gone.
The absurdity of it.
Yeah. That's what's happening. That's what's happening in this seeming waking dream. There's a character here by the name of Terry or Patty or Donna or Alex or whoever, yeah, pursuing awakening. It's ridiculous.
And when it finds out to wake up, it has to die.
It doesn't like it.
No.
It doesn't like that. And it hangs on. But there's nothing hanging on. There's actually nothing hanging on.
Unless you're lucid dreaming, right?
Say that again.
Unless you're lucid dreaming. And then, because to me, that's what awakening is, I think, is lucid dreaming, where you are simultaneously aware of being in the dream and out of the dream. Does that make sense? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
I'd say that that's a state of being conscious of, which is really cool. Because hardly anybody is conscious of. In other words, what I mean is being aware that you are conscious of mind, or you are conscious of a tree, or conscious of the sky, or conscious of a sensation in the body. Prior to conscious of, what you become is just complete mind. You wear it like a skin, and you're not even aware of consciousness.
Right.
Not at all. Yeah. So that lucidity that you're talking about is that moment of being conscious of. And that's where you, Patty, and that's what I was referring to earlier, Patty. What you're going through at the moment is being conscious of.
Yes.
And there is relief in it. There is relief in that. There's no doubt relief in it. Because you start to see the illusion. You start to actually see what's going on. Yeah. And then it'll kick back in again, and and you got to kind of see it again, and consciousness separates out from it again, from the dream, from what's going on. Yeah. Until eventually there's the total absolute knowing of what mind is and what you are not specifically. And then there's an interest then in consciousness. Oh, what's this? Oh, yeah. When that turns, mind goes quiet. Why? Because there's no attention on it. No attention on it. It's not even that it's that the mind's there and attention is shifted away from it and mind is still there. That's no. As soon as it's the attention itself that creates it. As soon as attention shifts, it's like it never was. Yeah? So it's consciousness that creates it. As everything, the world, it's consciousness. Yeah. Have an interest in this. But you've got to come to see what you're not first, because if you don't, what will then try and have an interest in this is the mind. And the mind's experience of this, the mind will go, like, is that it? Surely this isn't it. And why would mind do and say that? Because it can't experience this. It can't experience this. Yeah. So the mind's got to drop for this to this is so simple. It is so simple. It's not complicated. If this was complicated, Jesus, we'd have worked it out by now, given our age, you know. And if we hadn't worked it out, there'd be somebody that would have, and we'd be able to go to them for the answers to this unsolved thing. We just go to them for the answers and, got it. It's the complete opposite. This is so simple. And it's only mind that complicates everything. Because mind's believing that it's the experiencer and it's not.